All right. So, weird timing. I know it's like 10 o'clock at night on Friday. I just got done with an IRL stream, and we're going to go ahead and make a very quick, probably just 30 minutes, um, questions, conversations, and advice. So, as you know, I just did this last time, but why does the schedule change so much? It would be a fair question right now. I posted about this in the Discord, but I'll just go ahead and say it. The splits biphasic schedule is not going to work because my work requires I be at work for those 8 hours. I mean, they're not saying anything about it, but it really clearly does lately because we're kind of shorthanded, and I need to really focus. So what is the schedule? So his schedule is back. The schedule is back to this. I'm going to show you really quick. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because I know you guys want to move on. Ah ouais, je parle français un petit peu. And so let's go to, we'll stay with some of the more fun topics. But I did want to show, here we go. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about geolocation. That is my IP, and I don't care. I'm going to tell you why later. So, and we'll go from there. Okay, so let's go. We have a lot of things going on. We just got done with the Macau art opening, which will be a video. And then we're doing QCA tonight, 9:30. And then we're going to be I'm going to try to do Coffee Talk 7 to 8 in the morning. So we get our Euro Asian people. And then we're going to be doing Hack the Box on Monday and Wednesday. We're going to do Home Lab and It hopefully on Tuesdays and Thursdays. There's no guarantee this is all going to happen every night. This is just when I'm shooting to have it happen. So if you're interested in these topics, that's when you can tune in. And then we're going to do a nighttime QCA at 9:30 as kind of the last thing of the evening for me. And then I'm going to turn in right after that, relatively soon after that, so that I can get back on a more of a normal schedule. Unfortunately, that means that a lot of fun things that would happen at night, if they're going to happen, they're going to happen on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Speaking of which, tomorrow is the boost. Tomorrow, the beginner boost will be from 2 to 6, instead of Sunday, because I have Oktoberfest on Sunday. I'm going to go to with my family. So that's just to let you know about that. And hopefully we'll get that in time. I might go ahead and just publish this QCA like tonight, rather than waiting, their normal time when I wait till 9 o'clock the next morning to post it. I don't work for AT&T. Why would you say that? Maybe I do. Who knows? No, because it says AT&T and Verizon. That's all. I would never put anything in here that would dox anything that I cared about. That's silly. Okay, so I would never put anything on Google, period, that I would care to dox. So that's the calendar. And I'm sorry for the changes. There's just, life happens. So anyway, so first, I've been trying to decide which questions to cover. I only want to do a half an hour tonight, so I think I'm going to keep some of these other questions that I have until later. One of them is, what's batch processing and why should I care? What's OpenPBS? What's microservices, and what's the difference between batch? These are some really boring questions that I think that we should talk about, but I have a feeling I'm not going to talk about them during QCA. I'm going to stick with QCA being as much as possible questions from you, and I'll answer your questions. These are things that I want to talk about that you don't necessarily ask about. So I think what I'm going to do instead is I'll bore people during Coffee Talk with that, and then industry experts and people like that can come weigh in on that during Coffee Talk. So let's go ahead and answer. So people in the chat have priority. So if you have a question, please say it. You get first dibs on the questions and answers. And then the second priority is to people who have questions in the QCA on Discord. So if you want to go in there. So let me, for example, answer the Real Official Birdie's question. When did I start programming? I started programming when I want to say 12. I learned, I'm writing this down here, so I have it in the list. I learned BASIC. Hey, thank you for the sub. I learned BASIC programming because I wanted to make a Dungeons and Dragons character generator. And then my mom saw that I was interested in it, and I was a really horrible nerd with double headgear. and huge buck teeth, and and I guess they took pity on me, and I loved it, and I became obsessed with it. And then I got really into hacking as a kid. After War Games came out, I started hacking. There was no cloud computing back then. Back then it wasn't cloud computing. Maybe that's a different question. So I started when I was 12, which was, God, I want to say, what was that? 84, 82, something like that. I guess something like that. Maybe 86. When did War Games come out? When did War Games come out? It's the film War Games. You guys remember? World War II. Do you want to play a game? That really influenced me when it came out, actually. Matt, are you old enough to remember it? 1983. So it was 83. Okay. No. Not old enough, huh? If you haven't, you know what it is. Yeah, it's still worth watching. Ali Sheedy, that's where she got her start. A lot of people my age know her. I mean, the Gen Xers out there, they absolutely know that was literally the first game about hacking. I mean, the first film about hacking out of any kind, and it made me. It caused me to want to do some hacking. Is that a question? Let's see. Here's another question. Let's try this one. Question. Is there an agnostic package manager? I found Nixos and Conda, but I'm looking a way to get my dotfiles repo on different OSs without manual setup if possible. I'm a Mac user. Don't hate it. I would never hate you. I did this right here. That's my work computer. So I just, by the way, those are just listening, I showed my Mac. So possibly get my dotfiles multiple users on my Mac. My Tech 2, that's a great question, and that's a question that I obsess over. Becoming productive on any computer anywhere, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I don't think you should use a package manager for that personally. My personal opinion is that you should make a Git repo, and you should put your dot files in the Git repo so that you have them backed up and you can save them, everything private or otherwise. I actually have a private Git repo that's got tokens and stuff in it that I don't want to share with anyone else that never leaves my house. And then I have a public Git repo. It's got my dot files in it, which if you go to rdvxrob/dot, you can see how I manage my dot files. Personally, I think the best way to do it, and people love to trash on this, but I don't care. I think the best way to do it is to make a dot files directory that has your scripts and your config files and everything in it, and to write setup scripts for yourself that put things where they need to be, and create symbolic links. Now, a lot of people don't like the symbolic thing. I've seen other streamers talk about how cumbersome that is, and I don't agree at all, because the symbolic link method works anywhere and everywhere. And there's really only 3 files that I have to put on a system. I have to put my vimrc, my bashrc, and my tmuxrc. That's it. Those are the only files that I need. The rest of the stuff, my extra scripts and stuff, they're not mandatory, but those 3 things really are. If they're not on there, I can't be as productive as I could be. And by the way, that's also the reason that I don't like some of the other approaches, like using Emacs, which isn't even going to be on the computer in the first place, or using NeoVim and using Lua files, which aren't going to work with Vim 8.1, which is on thousands of enterprise computers that I use every day. I can't write an Ansible thing, or I can't do a shared drive mount and have it work that way, because I can't even get NeoVim installed without a change ticket. So when you hear me talk about my approach to dot files, I have to tell you about that, because that's my take on it. If you are a person who's going to be on the same computer all day, every day, then there are lots of other things you could do, such as using Emacs or VS Code or NeoVim or whatever. And I don't say that's bad. That's just a different work than what I do. I need to be productive immediately on any Linux or Unix OS and Windows. And in fact, so much so, and this is the last part I'll say about this, that even having all those scripts that I have has become so annoying that I am replacing them with a single Go binary that will run on any device that will run Go. And that is any device, like literally any device. And so I can compile that and I can get all of my little, like, to give you an example, I have a, like stupid things, like little utilities that normally would have been in their own thing, like ZUUID. This produces a UUID, right? Now, obviously I could have write a little script to do that, but instead ZUUID is inside of my, my Z command, and that is actually imported in Go. This is what I love Go. Go is the absolute hands down best language for command line tooling I've ever worked with, without any exception. And that's why I choose to use it. People have their own opinions on this. They love to put down what I'm saying, but I'm telling you, I can create much more powerful utilities in Go much faster than anyone else in any other compiled language without contest. And because it's just so easy, I actually, in fact, modularly, I went ahead, like, for example, see this unique module here? So if I go into unique, you can see that unique.go is a bonsai module that's got its own documentation and everything, right? So anybody can import this unique subcommand, z unique, tab, and they can pick up any of these things. And then I have, hex, let's say we got 12, so they give you 12 characters. So all of these really common things for creating unique identifiers are in my RWX/unique bonsai branch, and then that bonsai branch can be composed into the Z monolith, which is what you see here. And then I just have to import it. And then I can set up some aliases. I've actually got some aliases set up here because I wanted them to be shorter. So Bonsai lets you set up, shortcuts to some of these commands that are like fire down. I'll give you 20 minutes. And then you can go like down into the thing here. So you can go unique isosec, unique isonet, unique UUID, and that kind of thing. So that's how that works. So anyway, if you want to stay tuned for that, that's Bonsai, Bonzai. You can go take a look at it for making your own monoliths. And the reason for that is so that I can put all of that stuff into, not into a bunch of scripts, but it just be a single file. In fact, I'm even putting my Vim and tmux RCs in there as well, so that I can just, any target destination, I can just put the Z command, my Z command on anything, and I can run Z setup, and it will create all the symlinks and everything for me based on my preferences. And I don't have to do anything else, and it'll just synchronize it all. And it'll all be in a single binary. I just have to maintain that single binary. So that's how I personally take care of that question. Nixos is a great OS, and Conda is a disaster. I mean, anything Python and Conda. Python, do not look to Python for how to do distribution properly. They have never figured this out. I mean, it took them forever. It was eggs and all kinds of different things forever, and they still haven't figured it out. So the idea of having a single compiled monolith binary is you don't have a package to install. You have a binary, period, and then you can go with that. There's a second War Games. I don't remember it. I think it wasn't very good though. Yes, I don't think it was any good. It's probably why I don't remember it. It's pretty bad, huh? My wife just got home. So, any other immediate questions? Let's ask a couple of the simpler ones. What are CoffeeTalk and QCA? We talked about that. So CoffeeTalk, just to remind you, is going to be more about me talking about industry trends and news, and QCA is going to be questions, conversations, and advice, where we hopefully answer your questions live, or things you've submitted instead of just me droning on. And I'm going to get better at just stopping QCA if there's no more questions to be answered, because there's no reason to waste your time if you don't have questions. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can compile it to Barn for 64 Mac. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you just make a build script, and you tell it, and then so my release, I build it for every target, and then anytime I make any change, I have to redistribute it. So I'm actually working on, I finally gave in, and I'm going to go with Ansible for that. And then you're going to go watch War Games? Nice. And I think I'm going to eventually figure out a way so that I can get that. I want to be able to get that binary. Something else I haven't added to the binary is I want to make it so that the binary can auto update, so that it phones home. It phones home to my GitHub public releases, and it says, "Oh, do you have a new one?" And then it auto updates when you start it, and then all you have to do is get it onto the system once, and then it can just automatically pull down its latest version every time. And I haven't finished that yet. That's a relatively easy thing to do. There's some gotchas depending on whether you're using Enterprise or GitHub. I mean, depending on how you're releasing your stuff, whether you're using a GitHub or you're just putting it on our website somewhere. And I haven't quite got that part of it done, but I do want to get that done because that's by far the model to use these days. Question from Big Jim. What is your best advice to control your focus when you work? I find it especially hard when the task is really hard and I'm having a bad time doing progress. For me, I mean, this is so personal. Everyone is personal, right? And it depends on the kind of work. So let me give you an example. On the one extreme, if it's like I'm trying to like break down an algorithm, then if I'm trying to break down an algorithm and figure it out, then a lot of times I'll just go for a walk. I'll go for a walk. I'll take a pad and paper and I'll just think. I'll get away from everything, and that allows me to really focus on the task at hand. If it's something that involves a computer and I can't stand up or look away, I have a problem with noise, so I will put earplugs in right here. I'll put my earplugs in and I'll turn off any sensory input whatsoever, and I'll get really, really, really focused on what it is I want to do. My biggest challenge when it comes to focus is interest. I find, you know, I'm the guy who, if you have a bag of chips, I'm the guy, if you have a bag of chips and there's like a bunch of broken chips in there and there's the whole chips, I'll eat all the broken chips before I eat the whole chips. Because I don't know why. It's OCD. It's like a thing with me. And the reason I tell you that weird thing is because that's how I do work. And it's bad because that's the definition of bike shedding. Bike shedding is spending all your time making a fantastic bike shed in this new Googleplex or whatever it is that you're trying to make, this big, massive company, and you're just designing the bike shed because you want to make it perfect because it's something easy and you can all get behind it. And all the big work that needs to be done doesn't get looked at because you're too busy doing that. Now, you can combine that with another saying called shaving the yak, where you're just working on things you feel like working on that kind of need to be done, and you end up solving a massive problem you weren't even planning on. They're somewhat related, so it's not completely bad to work on things that don't seem important. But yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to stay focused on that, and when it's not a priority, unless it's something you really like to do. It's just like homework. I noticed, like when I was in college, at first I hate it, but then once I start doing it, I'm like, okay, I'm good. Because then you get into it. Once you get your brain like moving in it, then that motion kind of takes a shove. But once you get moving down that way, unless you get interrupted, and then you've got the momentum. You can just keep going. You got to be careful because once you get into it, you look up and like 8 hours later, you didn't eat anything. So yeah. One way to control focus, Twitch guy says, is to break things down in smaller. But yeah, the Pomodoro method. I use the 52-minute, 8-minute off, 52 minutes on. That helps me know that the task is going to be broken up. As some people do 30 or 1. Yeah, that's a pretty popular method right now. I first learned about that on Twitch, actually. There was some a co-working stream that they were doing the Pomodoro method. I think it was our friend from Brussels. What's her name? I forget her name anyway. But yeah, I probably give her credit for that. And then I made my own Pomo timer, Z Pomo, which is, by the way, in my monolith. I put that in my Z monolith. There you go. 51 minutes. You can't see us up in the corner. But it just, adds a little Pomo timer up there. And Pomo stop. Okay, so That's the best I could say. Music helps me focus, and sometimes music distracts me though. It's interesting because depending on the task, sometimes music can help you focus, and other times it can be an excruciatingly annoying thing. So for example, if I'm doing something that is relatively easy but monotonous, the music helps. But if I'm doing something that requires an intense amount of focus, like I'm trying to refactor a very complicated piece of code, then music of any kind of sound, music or key typing or fan noise from the bathroom or anything, it's just absurdly annoying. I can't take it. And I just how my brain works. Everybody's got different ways of focusing, you know. I mean, and there's some people that probably need to be diagnosed. I've thought about getting diagnosed with ADHD, which I think I probably could get a diagnosis for it. But then what? Then I get addicted to Adderall. And you should hear the horror stories on Twitch about people that have been trying to get off Adderall because of that. So I'm not a fan of that either. I think going for a run, getting a good sleep, you know, all of those things. Those are the best things I could. Anybody else have any suggestions? Matt, you got anything? How do you focus? Are you still there? You fall asleep? It's 10:30. He's asleep. So yeah. Once diagnosed, there's other things for ADHD you can do. Yeah, I think I probably would need to seek out a diagnosis before we go too far on that. Chemicals are never the solution to anything. I know. Unless the chemicals are like stuff from your food. We're just about done, honey. This is Doris, my wife. Say hi to YouTube. Say hi, YouTube. You're going to be saved for time and eternity. I'll be with you in a minute, Doris. Okay, we're done here. Chemicals is the solution. I agree. Is there any quick and easy questions we can answer really quick? Why is TypeScript better than JavaScript? That's an easy one. It's strictly typed. I will read you the quote. First of all, I don't think TypeScript is better than JavaScript for most web stuff. I'm going to, yeah. All right, so here we go. This one is, I want to show you this one. So Guido, I'm going to read it. So Guido said, I learned a painful lesson that for small programs, dynamic typing is great, but for large programs, you have to have more of a disciplined approach, and it helps to have a language that actually gives you that discipline, rather than telling you, well, you can do whatever you want. That's a quote from Guido van Rossum himself, the creator of Python. And then he went about, making Python 3-ish, pretty much TypeScript. So if it's a big project, strict typing helps. It just gives you the discipline to catch errors before it goes into production because of the types. However, I think that there's way too much bloat in the web JavaScript world when it comes to web development. And so I'm a big fan of vanilla JavaScript if you can get away with it. And then at some point, though, you're going to be, putting React into your basic blog or something is a stupid idea because, first of all, you're not going to be searchable. But maybe you have a component that is sort of an application-like thing that's optional. That's why I like Vue so much, because it is kind of incremental, progressive enhancement kind of thing. Whereas React is like all or nothing. I know that's changed, but so I'm a fan of vanilla JavaScript. I actually really like JavaScript. It's one of my favorite language syntaxes out there because you can capture lambda calculus pretty much directly using fat arrow functions, which is cool. I sincerely say that because I code in Go most of the time, Go and Bash on the command line, but JavaScript as a language is pretty cool. I mean, it's got warts and all, but it's still pretty cool. So, any others? I do think React is going to become pretty, but React is an applications framework at this point. Let's just admit that's what it really is. It always has been. And web applications, right? So, and most applications are complicated and they require a framework. So, I mean, if you look at React, if I look at React that way, I can sort of forgive like absolute sins against nature like JSX and things like that, because or Tailwinds, which people combine with React all the time, Because, CSS as JavaScript, because it's an application at that point. And it's an application. All of the justification for using JavaScript, JavaScripting all the things comes to play. And I agree with it. I actually agree with it. But the problem is that when people use React to do things that the web was originally intended for, such as baseline, communication and sharing of knowledge and documentation and stuff, and they put all their docs behind a React, wall, which is the opposite of progressive enhancement, and stops people like me who do text-based research from getting the answers we want just because they wanted to use React, or whatever framework. I don't mean to pick on React. But to be fair, I do intend to learn React within the next year or two, because I'm going to start doing, and I'll probably do React with TypeScript, because I'm going to start. I mean, I started a while ago. I learned Vue pretty well, and I'm going to start making beginner boost apps that go over the material in sort of an interactive way, kind of a question and answer way. And I've been wanting to do that for a long time. So we'll, just add it to the list of things I want to do. Speaking of which, one of the things I want to do is clean this room up and have a great Saturday, which is tomorrow. I just got back from a really great night with my wife, and we both drove independently. So I kind of snuck this in on her way home. So I'm going to go spend the rest of the evening with her. I wish you the greatest of Friday nights. I may or may not be back. I can't promise that. If I do come back tonight, it's most likely going to be to drink a little bit and play some video games. So don't have any high expectations there. If you want high expectations, Monday and Wednesday once again are Hack the Box at 6:30 at night, and Tuesday and Thursdays are going to be Linux Home Lab and It. And tomorrow, don't forget, tomorrow from 2 to 6 is the Beginner Boost. We will be doing more Go programming tomorrow. And tomorrow morning, I'm probably going to be putting the Rails on my HP and mounting my server and making some decisions about patch panels and keystones and all kinds of stuff like that. So really, if I do, that will show up in the YouTube videos under the Linux Home Lab and It. So there are playlists for everything I've been doing, including art now. So on YouTube, just make sure you go check out the one you want to see.